Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of The Daily. It's Friday, August 26th, here with Greg Lawless. I'm Nick Fershaw. Greg, we're going to start with the biggest news of the day, and that's some weather-related news here in MLS. We've got to report about games being postponed that were set this weekend. Let's talk about the games that are happening, and one that happened Thursday night over in the CONCACAF Champions League. The LA Galaxy at home against Alajuelense, the Costa Rican team, coming up to the Home Depot Center. A 2-0 win for the LA Galaxy, and Greg, Bruce Arena saying, actually, this postponement of the New York game had a benefit for the Galaxy.
Well, certainly because he was able to bring his big boys in. David Beckham getting the start, Robbie Keane getting the start, but it was Omar Gonzalez who gets the first goal for LA Galaxy in this one and sets them on their way. In many ways, though, Alajuelense put a lot of pressure on them. Josh Saunders was expected to come up with some big saves, and he did it. He did a fine job in there. Chad Barrett ended up getting an icer toward the end, and 2-0. That puts the Galaxy well on top of their group right now, in a great position after their 2 home games. You need to get wins in your home matches in group play in Champions League. They did it. Now they're going to have to go on the road the next game and see what they can do.
6 points in 2 games in Group A for the LA Galaxy. Another team off to a very good start after 2 games. That's FC Dallas. If you didn't see it on Thursday, a big win over Toronto FC in that weather-delayed game. They win again on Thursday and able to get a 1-0 win over Toronto FC. Let's switch gears a little bit to the U.S. national team. Greg, we heard the 24-man roster for those 2 big upcoming friendlies against Costa Rica and Belgium. Of the 24, 11 guys from MLS. A lot of the same faces we saw against Mexico.
Yeah, a lot of the same faces in Robbie Rogers, in Breck Shea, Tim Ream, Juan Agudelo. But an interesting name that makes his return, Teal Bunbury from Sporting Kansas City. You know, he had a struggle in the beginning of the year to really find his form, and Bob Bradley sort of stopped bringing him in for games, and then now he's in again for Jurgen Klinsmann. Obviously, the German coach for the national team wants to take a look at him. He's been picking up his game lately, gotten a couple of goals first off the bench. Now he's getting some starts, doing a good job as a holding guy up top, a target man. And I think that's really what Klinsmann is looking for. Another interesting name, Jeff Lorenowitz from the Colorado Rapids, brought in to maybe fill that role as that holding midfielder that Kyle Beckerman did so well in that role against Mexico.
You mentioned Kyle Beckerman. He's on that list again. Heath Pierce also in there. You can find the complete list on MLSsoccer.com. Let's switch a little bit and talk about some of the biggest games this weekend that are happening. Let's start with the nationally televised game out west. Chivas USA at home against Real Salt Lake, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Saturday night on Fox Soccer. Greg, we know about our RSL's struggles lately, and Chivas USA sort of on the periphery of that playoff structure. What do we expect from this one?
Well, it's interesting because Chivas USA just not being consistent right now, Nick. And they lost midweek in Portland, that 1-0 loss where you almost felt like they had some momentum after that draw in Colorado, and then they lost it. They obviously have the ability to move the ball well in the midfield. And remember, Robin Fraser, a former assistant to Jason Kreis for Real Salt Lake, Kreis and company coming down to Los Angeles for this match, and RSL really in need of points. This week they've been talking lots of almost threats for their players to say, pick it up because you're playing for your spots, you're playing for your contracts. It has to be better for RSL. Now, RSL still a few games in hand against a lot of teams in the Western Conference, so they are in a fine position to stay in that playoff race. But I think they need to start getting points.
We heard Jason Kreis not backing off from those comments about things might change in RSL if they don't make a push here soon. Last but not least, one of the best teams out west, the Seattle Sounders. They face the Columbus Crew, 4 p.m. Eastern. You can follow along on Matchday Live. Greg, this might be the best game of the weekend.
Well, the Columbus Crew obviously on top of the Eastern Conference right now. They've gotten healthier over the last couple of weeks. Emilio Renteria has come back from an injury, and he's playing well. Got a goal in his last game. Mendoza starting to be very active up top. Robbie Rogers finding his form, and Jurgen Klinsmann showing some confidence in that. Still a question mark about Eddie Gavin, whether he'll be available. And Julius James, the center back, will not be available because of suspension on yellow card accumulation. But Danny Rourke getting closer to return. We might see him in there as well. On the other side, you have Seattle feeling very confident after that 1-0 victory down in Mexico in the CONCACAF Champions League. These are 2 complete teams. They know how to score. They like to move the ball well. This could be a terrific game.
And if you are a fan of the Seattle Sounders, you can catch the latest edition of Extra Time Radio. We had Mauro Rosales, the midfielder who's really been a spark for that Sounders team. He joined us, had some great things to say about MLS. And Robbie Keane from the LA Galaxy on this latest edition of Extra Time Radio.
A couple of marquee names
there, right? Big marquee names and some weather updates on that one. You can find that on Buzzsprout and iTunes. And for all the latest news here on MLSsoccer.com/the Weather Channel, log on to MLSsoccer.com.